Silence is not helplessness. It is a strategy, a powerful and necessary strategy in today's world where everything moves quickly, loudly, and is filled with incessant words. We live in an era where busyness is highly valued. People always feel the need to show their presence, to speak their thoughts and feelings, to display themselves, and even to show plans for the future that they've never actually carried out. But in such a world, silence is a precious and indispensable resource. Silence is not weakness or avoidance, but the way you choose to keep your strength, focusing on what truly matters. Not every thought, action, or decision needs to be shared with the world. What you truly do and the results you achieve are what really matter. If you're always explaining everything, you're losing control of yourself. Each time you explain, you give away a part of your inner strength, and that gradually makes you weaker. Silence is a way to protect yourself from distractions, from outside influences, and more importantly, it's a way for you to stay true to your goals without being distracted. Think of a successful entrepreneur. They don't spend the whole day boasting or talking about what they will do. They quietly take action, continue their work, and let the results speak for themselves. Their actions don't need approval or praise from anyone. In fact, they may not receive any recognition until their success is clear and undeniable. One reason silence is powerful is that it helps you avoid unnecessary distractions. While the world out there continues to be noisy and judges everything based on words, you are building something truly solid in the dark, and that's what makes the difference. People won't see you start, won't see you working hard, but they will see the results, and that's when you begin to feel the true power of silence. When you don't need to prove anything, you are truly strong. When you don't need to explain why you do this or that, you can focus on what truly matters. The big decisions in life don't need to be shared with everyone. You don't need their approval to continue your path. In fact, if you're trying to explain and seek approval from others, you're losing control of yourself. Silence allows you to focus on your goals without being interrupted by opinions and judgments from others. It's how you maintain inner strength. You don't always have to prove you're right. Sometimes, silence is the strongest affirmation. When you are determined in your goals without needing to explain or justify, you create a powerful image, an image of someone with decisiveness, someone not distracted by meaningless words. Silence helps you protect your energy, protect your clarity in decisions. People who act in silence are not avoiding the truth. They simply don't need to participate in meaningless arguments. They know that actions are valuable, not words. Sometimes, silence is also a reminder. It reminds you that patience and focus are much more valuable than chasing after temporary excitement. It allows you to work in the dark, accept failures, learn from them, and success will come one day when you are ready to share it with the world. But by then, you won't need to explain anymore. The results you achieve will prove your journey. No one needs to understand everything you've done, but they will have to recognize you when they see you reach the finish line. When you truly believe in your path, you don't need to explain to anyone. Silence is the most powerful tool to maintain autonomy and control in life. When you no longer have to explain, you are truly free. Freedom is not being accepted by everyone, but not needing to seek that acceptance. Silence helps you eliminate the need to meet others' expectations. It frees you from the pressure of society and helps you focus on what truly matters to yourself. A successful entrepreneur or a great creator won't chase after recognition from others. They will stay silent, work, and continue acting until their results speak. And when the results come, they will not only speak about success, but also be a testament to the power of silence in maintaining long-term perseverance and focus. Remember, silence is not giving up. It's not avoidance. It's a strategy to keep your goals intact and protect yourself from distraction. When you are silent, you retain your inner strength and allow your actions to speak for everything. Let your results prove what you have done, not your words. Freedom is when you no longer need approval. It's a simple concept, but with immense power. Freedom is not a privilege given to you. It is a choice you must make, a commitment to yourself that you won't let anyone or anything control the way you live. You don't need to wait for others' consent to act, to follow your own path. Imagine a life where you don't worry about what others think of you, where you aren't concerned about whether you have their approval or not. This doesn't mean you don't care about others' opinions, but rather you understand that no matter what, you are the only one with the power to decide your own path. This doesn't mean you will never need help or advice, but the difference is that you don't rely on that advice to define your worth. You don't need others to say right for you to feel confident about your decisions. When you don't need approval, you can live authentically, free from the expectations of society, family, or friends. You can take risks, follow your passions, and not fear judgment. And that's a kind of freedom no one can take from you. Think about those who have had a great influence in the world. People like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Richard Branson. They didn't succeed because they did what others wanted. They succeeded because they didn't need others' approval to pursue their ideas. They didn't need to prove anyone wrong, they just acted. Their decisions were not based on getting consent from those around them. They knew that if they believed in something strongly enough, they would pursue it, no matter how others reacted. That's why people like them change the world. Once you no longer need approval, you won't feel the need to step back when faced with opposition. You won't worry when others disagree with you. In fact, you will realize that opposition and criticism are not something to fear. They are just part of the process. Approval from others doesn't define you, and it certainly doesn't determine your worth or ability. When you don't need approval, you won't be distracted by meaningless things. You can focus on what truly matters. You don't need to create a perfect image just to make others see you as worthy. You don't need to meet society's standards or anyone's expectations to feel valuable. You'll live your life without worrying about whether you're pleasing everyone. That's freedom. The freedom to act on your own terms, to experiment and explore new things without fearing failure or judgment. When you don't need approval, you can create freely. Great creators, true innovators, never work to make others think they're amazing. They work out of passion because they believe in their ideas, because they believe those ideas can change the world. You don't need to wait for everyone around you to recognize you. You just need to start, act, and let the results show others that you were right. And even when results don't come immediately, you persist because you know this is the only way to achieve your goal. Approval is just a form of acceptance from the outside, but freedom comes from accepting yourself, from not needing anyone's approval to walk the path you've chosen. You are the only one who truly understands what you want and why you're doing it. No one else can decide that. When you don't need approval, you are no longer bound by anything but the truth you've chosen. You can change, you can grow, you can fail and keep going, all without fear of judgment. Failures will no longer make you feel like a loser because you know they are just part of your journey. Each time you face difficulty, you will learn and move on. You won't let approval or criticism stop you from staying on track. Freedom is when you live on your own terms, without needing anyone to approve. This freedom not only helps you live your life fully, but also helps you expand your vision, be creative, and change the world around you. When you don't need approval, you begin to see your true potential. You begin to act with confidence, not based on others' validation, but on your own understanding and belief. Approval is something people often seek to feel safe, but when you stop seeking it, you become free, and you will feel at peace with your own decisions. Your life will no longer be dictated by others' comments. You will no longer feel the need to explain or justify every choice you make. You act because you believe in it, and that's enough. That's why you should embrace this freedom. Let your actions prove who you are. The decisions, steps, and successes you achieve are the recognition you need. And when you no longer need approval, you will realize that true freedom comes from within you. Silence is not the absence, but the power that is hidden. In a world where noise and busyness have become the norm, silence is a powerful strategy. It is a strength that doesn't need to be proven, doesn't need to be explained. Let time speak for itself. Those who are truly successful don't waste energy justifying their decisions. They don't need to prove they're right in every situation. They act and let the results speak for themselves. Silence is a way to protect yourself from unnecessary noise, a place where you retreat to regenerate energy, to think clearly, and to recognize what truly matters. When you don't need to argue, when you don't have to always show that you're right, you save energy for more important things. Silence is not weakness, but a way to maintain your consistency in life. No one can predict your actions if you choose to remain silent. And it is this silence that makes you stronger, because you are not distracted, not pulled by external factors. One of the most important things I've learned is that when you are silent, you not only protect yourself from distractions, but also protect your goals. When you speak, You can't avoid sharing your energy with others. And not everyone will understand you. Often, explaining only makes others more skeptical. Therefore, silence is the best way to keep your energy for yourself. This is a strategy that very few people recognize. They think that talking a lot is the way to persuade others, to gain attention, to express themselves. But the truth is, when you remain silent, you not only protect yourself, but also create space for others to discover you. When you are silent, you open up the opportunity for others to understand you on their own. And that's when you begin to build real influence. Successful people are not those who talk a lot, but those who know when to stay silent. They know when it's time to speak and when to just act. They don't waste energy on meaningless conversations. They know that their silence is an affirmation of their confidence and long-term vision. Silence gives you space to reflect, to develop ideas without interruption. In that space, you will find clarity. You will recognize the important things that you may have overlooked before due to being too busy or distracted. That's when you can look back, reflect, and adjust your direction if needed. In this journey, silence is an incredibly powerful tool, a strength that not everyone realizes. When you keep silent, you don't argue, don't explain or justify. It helps you save time and energy for more important things, things that can change your life. You won't worry about pleasing others. You just need to focus on doing what you believe is right, despite conflicting opinions or criticisms from those around you. This doesn't mean you don't care about others. In fact, silence can sometimes be a way to show respect and listen. You don't need to say everything. You don't need to share everything. Silence can be an invitation, a signal that you are ready to listen and understand rather than just talk to persuade. Silence is a space for you to review yourself, to recognize your strengths and weaknesses. It's when you can check what you're doing and redefine your goals. And when you can do that consistently, you will notice the difference. When you don't need to show yourself to the outside world, you'll see more clearly what truly matters. You'll understand your motivation better, and you'll act for the right reasons, not for temporary reasons. Once you can see that silence is not a lack, but a tool to enhance confidence and awareness, you will begin to feel its true power. It's a focus on what you're doing, undistracted by external factors. You can find true strength in silence, when you can step out of the noisy world and look at yourself. That's where you truly find freedom in action. Silence is not absence, it is focus and control. You will act stronger, clearer, and more accurately when you maintain that silence in a world full of noise. The power of silence not only helps you maintain consistency, but also increases your mental strength. It is the alertness necessary to pursue your goals without being scattered. And when you understand the power of silence, you'll realize that speaking is not always the most effective way. Sometimes, remaining silent is how you truly grow and make significant changes. Releasing energy is an essential element in the journey to achieving true freedom, and silence is a powerful tool to help you do that. Everything around you creates an invisible pressure, from meaningless conversations, constant notifications on your phone, to relationships that no longer bring value. All of these pull you into a whirlpool of distractions, causing you to lose focus on what matters most, yourself. Once you understand that silence is not just about staying quiet, but is a tool for releasing energy, you will begin to realize its hidden power. We live in a world where noise is seen as a sign of busyness and success. Yet no one recognizes that busyness does not equal effectiveness. Successful people, those who have the ability to change the world, are not the ones always present in every conversation or constantly displaying themselves. They know that if they don't control themselves, they will waste energy on trivial matters. Silence, when used correctly, is the release of energy bound to unimportant things. You will no longer feel drained by unnecessary words, demands from others, or endless arguments that lead nowhere. Silence helps you avoid the invisible energy suckers you may not realize you're nurturing each day. You don't need to explain every decision. You don't need to prove why you chose this path instead of that one. What matters is that you understand clearly what you're doing, and once you do, you won't need anyone's approval. Silence helps protect yourself, your choices, and decisions from being distracted by others. When you stop to look at your life, you will notice that all unnecessary things are just distractions that don't deserve your attention. You may feel pressure, anxiety, or stress, but you will find that when you keep silent, all these emotions gradually become lighter. When you don't have to share everything with everyone, you begin to focus on what you truly need to do. Nothing in life is random. Every choice you make, every action you take, will determine the outcome of tomorrow. And to make significant changes, you must have the ability to channel your energy toward what is most important. That's why silence is such a powerful tool for releasing energy. Think about it. Every time you feel pulled into unimportant conversations or have to explain your decisions to others, you are wasting a valuable part of your energy that could be used for important work. You will begin to realize that silence not only helps you stay undistracted, but also creates a space to recharge your energy, to think about what really matters. Silence is not giving up. It is a strategic retreat, a decision to focus on what will bring real change to your life. When you don't have to participate in every small conversation, when you don't have to face every discussion, you free yourself from mental fatigue. You focus on what you truly want to achieve, and that is no longer affected by external factors. In fact, silence creates a quietness in the mind, a space where you can hear your own thoughts without distraction. In that space, you can plan, think about your next steps without getting caught up in unnecessary conversations. You will clearly see what you need to do and why you need to do it. One of the strengths of silence is its ability to help you regain consistency. When you don't need to explain or justify your actions, you will feel freer. You no longer have to live according to the judgments of others, no longer live to prove you're right. You will live your own way, and that is true freedom. Silence not only protects you from distractions, but also protects your goals. It helps you maintain the motivation and inner strength to pursue what you've decided. If you don't maintain silence, you will easily fall into the trap of distractions. You will be pulled into unimportant conversations, lies, worthless opinions, and all of that will drain your energy and focus. But if you understand and use silence purposefully, you will see life become easier. You will no longer feel pressured to please others, nor feel stressed when faced with unnecessary demands. And from there, you will be able to release your energy into what truly matters. Releasing energy through silence also means freeing yourself from the control of the world around you. When you no longer care about what others think, no longer worry about pleasing anyone, you will feel stronger, you will feel the power from within, and this power will help you achieve everything you want in life. When you keep silent, you are also building mental independence. You no longer need the approval or recognition of others. You will act for yourself, and everything you do will bring real value to your life. Remember, silence is not rejection, not absence. It is a strategy, a tool to release energy, and a means for you to control your life. When you use silence wisely, you not only save energy, but also create a space for the most important things to grow. Silence is an invisible power, but it creates huge changes in your life. Self-transformation is not an abrupt process, but a long journey that you must walk on your own. It is not something that can be achieved through empty words, endless chatter, or encouragement from others. True transformation can only happen in silence, when you find your own path, reflect on yourself, and decide what you will do in the future. That is the power of silence. When you're in an environment free from the noise of society, when you stop and it's just you with your thoughts, that's when you can truly see yourself. Not through praise, not through external recognition, but through your own inner feelings. This feeling will tell you where you are, what you need, and what you want. Once you have this self-awareness, the process of transformation begins. In the world around us, we are often caught in a whirlwind of distractions. Every time you try to move forward, you're pulled back by unhealthy relationships, unrealistic expectations, and unnecessary pressures. However, when you learn to be silent, you begin to notice what's most important. External factors cannot decide your life. You are the one who decides. Silence is not about giving up or avoiding. It's an inner strength that allows you to see your path clearly without being influenced by outside noise. When you are silent, you are not distracted by judgments, criticisms, or comparisons. You maintain peace of mind, which not only helps you stay calm, but also helps you develop abilities you've never noticed before. In silence, you can truly hear your inner voice, the voice of intuition, of instinct. That is the invaluable resource you can use to make decisions in your life. Silence allows you to see things more clearly, free from temporary emotions or hasty decisions. You will feel the shift, notice small changes in your thoughts and actions, and each change, no matter how small, can lead to a major breakthrough. You will no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. You will no longer be bound by the expectations others place on you. All you need to do is focus on developing yourself, mastering your mind, and action. This process of transformation may not be easy. It requires strength, perseverance, and belief in yourself. But when you choose silence to reflect on yourself, you will notice that change begins to happen naturally. Negative habits will gradually be replaced by new, stronger, and bolder mindsets. And you will see that, step by step, you are getting closer to a better version of yourself. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, but silence is the tool that helps you stay on track. It gives you space to think and act in the way you feel is right, when you no longer worry about pleasing others or being influenced by social standards. You begin to act on your own terms, creating remarkable results. You no longer need external recognition to feel your worth. You begin to realize your own value, and that is when you can truly unleash your potential. When you change from within, the outside world will change as well. Others will begin to notice the difference in you. They will see that you are no longer easily dragged into meaningless conversations or unnecessary demands. You become someone with clear goals, firm vision, and your actions will bring real value. Silence is a powerful transformation. It not only helps you reflect on yourself, but also helps you build confidence, independence, and freedom in life. When you learn to be silent, you not only keep peace in your soul, but also build a solid foundation for personal growth. That is the power of silence in transformation. Self-transformation is not an easy process, but when you begin to realize that silence is not just about not speaking, but a tool to free yourself from external constraints, you will feel lighter. You will no longer worry about doing things the way others want. You will no longer feel the need to prove yourself to society, and you will notice that when you act in silence, you begin to achieve results you never thought possible. Self-transformation is a journey, and silence is the tool that helps you go farther. When you find strength in silence, you not only free yourself from external factors, but also discover endless potential within yourself. Without further ado, ask yourself, how can you inspire silence within yourself? This is the time for you to start changing. When you no longer need approval from others, you've made a major step forward in life. This is not about compromise or giving up. It is a sophisticated strategy that helps you unleash your full potential. Approval from others, from society, from friends or family is never perfect. It doesn't reflect your true value. In fact, it is merely a temporary validation that reassures you, convincing you that you're on the right path. But the truth is, you never truly know what is right until you act. And that action cannot depend on the approval of others. When you live according to others' expectations, you are always limited by them. Every decision you make is scrutinized, judged, and measured through their lens. This not only hinders your growth, but also obscures the creativity and boundless potential that you truly have. The world doesn't need more people following others' instructions. The world needs those who are willing to step out, experiment, and walk a path that only they can see. When you no longer need approval, you enter a world of absolute freedom. You no longer have to compromise. You no longer worry about whether others will agree. You just do what you know is right, and you will never regret it. The decision to stop seeking approval is a pivotal moment in your life. It's not just about ignoring others' opinions. It's the realization that you are the only one who can determine your own worth. If you want to build a career, a family, or anything else, you have to do it your way. No one else can understand the path you need to take better than you. You must be confident and strong enough to pursue what you believe is right without seeking assurance from anyone else. Approval is a trap. It makes you see things through a narrow lens. You are stuck in seeking recognition from others instead of focusing on what you truly want to do. When you act for approval, you can never reach your full potential. You become preoccupied with what others think instead of focusing on what you can create. That is why those who achieve great things in life are often the ones willing to abandon societal approval. They are not afraid to do what others may call foolish. They are not afraid of criticism. They live according to what they believe in. Every decision, every action comes from a strong sense of self, from the confidence that they are on the right path. When you no longer need approval, you begin to experience a tremendous freedom. You no longer worry about what others think of you. You just focus on your goals and act with all your ability. Approval doesn't make you stronger. In fact, it weakens you. When you need external validation, you will always be bound by factors outside of your control. And at that point, you no longer have control over your life. Instead, you let others decide your path. If you live by others' expectations, you will never live true to yourself. You will be overwhelmed by beliefs and ideas that are not yours. And at that point, you will never be able to create, never be able to grow. Remember, approval from others is not what will lead you to success. Confidence, consistency, and the ability to live true to yourself are what matter. When you no longer need approval from others, you will never hesitate when facing challenges. You will have the courage to pursue big ideas, the creativity you didn't dare to follow before, and when you do, you will realize that you are growing in ways you never imagined. True freedom comes when you stop seeking approval from others. You will no longer be stuck in negative thoughts, endless questions about whether you're doing the right thing. You will no longer be obsessed with pleasing others. You will feel your inner strength and follow your own path. Approval is just a temporary affirmation. It makes you feel not enough, makes you seek acceptance from others to feel valuable. But your value is not something that can be measured by others' agreement or praise. Your value comes from within, from courage, from resilience, and from choosing to live your life your way. When you no longer need approval, you not only free yourself, but also release your limitless potential. You will no longer be bound by social standards, external expectations. You will no longer be limited by words or meaningless arguments. You will begin to live true to yourself, and that is when you can achieve real success. Not needing approval is a sign of maturity. It shows that you have overcome the limits set by society and have begun to live a truly free life. This is the life you choose, and you can fully control it. Success does not come from words, but from action. This simple truth is one of the key essentials on the journey to achieving any goal. Flowery words, inspiring speeches, or empty promises will never lead you to success. Think about the most successful people in history, the ones who changed the world. They didn't just talk, they acted. They walked paths that no one else had followed, embraced risks, and never stopped until their goals were accomplished. The success story is not about a perfect speech or a grand vision of the future. It's about the concrete steps taken, the actions carried out every day, no matter how difficult or challenging. If you want to achieve something, you must take action. There is no substitute for real action. Action doesn't have to be grand from the start. It can begin with small steps, but each step must move forward with a clear goal. When you stop and only talk about what you will do, you've fallen into the trap of empty promises. Words may provide temporary motivation, but only action brings lasting change. Remember, success is never easy. It's the result of accepting failure, learning from mistakes, and moving forward without ever giving up. Successful people do not stop when faced with failure. They see failure as part of the process, a lesson to be overcome in order to move further. That's at the end of his podcast last week. Joe, I taught us a very powerful TED Talk that you and all of us may follow when faced with failure. They see failure as part of the process, a lesson to be overcome in order to move further. No one reaches their destination without facing challenges. However, challenges are merely opportunities to become stronger, smarter, and more resilient. People can talk a lot about their big goals, but only those who act can change the world. Action can never be replaced by words. You can sit there discussing great ideals, how to change the world, but that won't bring any change to you or anyone else. In fact, action is the key factor that determines success. Specific actions, no matter how small, but persistent and goal-oriented, will bring you closer to your dreams. You may start with small tasks, but each step must be made with determination and focus. Action doesn't mean working superficially or without vision. It means you must persevere, work hard, and never give up. Sometimes action can be difficult, but it is the only way to reach your destination. You will never make progress if you just sit and wait. When you act, you create opportunities. Opportunities never appear just because you wish for them. Opportunities come from the decisions you make, from your willingness to experiment, from your readiness to accept failure, learn, and keep moving forward. The only way to succeed is to work tirelessly and stay committed to the path you've chosen. If you keep procrastinating, keep talking about what you will do, you will never achieve your goals. Success is not something that comes overnight, but consistent action will take you there. We live in a world where words are sometimes easier than actions. We can easily write plans, talk about what we will do, but action is what separates those who only talk from those who actually achieve success. If you want to be someone who achieves something in life, you must take action. Action is the driving force behind progress, helping you learn from failures, change what's ineffective, and stay true to your goals. Real action is the test of your words. You can say that you want to change, want to succeed, but it's only when you actually start doing the work that you begin to prove yourself. Every step you take, every decision you make, creates a difference. Those who talk a lot but do nothing are just wasting time. But those who act, those who take action, are the ones who create real change. You will never know your true power until you act. Don't just talk, do. And when you do, don't fear failure, because failure is part of the process. You learn from failures, and from that you become stronger. Success does not come from words, but from relentless, determined, and practical actions. If you dare to act, you will achieve what you desire. Silence is not a void, but a purposeful strategy. It is a powerful tool that can change the way we approach life, work, and success. In a world filled with noise, silence is a precious moment for reflection, focus, and building. And that is the lesson we need to learn. The most successful people, those who change the world, are not the ones who are always talking, always showing their presence. They are the ones who know when to be silent, when to hold back, and when to act. These individuals are aware that silence is not impotence, but a means to observe, understand the situation better, and find opportunities that others miss. Silence creates space for thinking and innovation. While others are discussing problems, those who know silence can find solutions. Through silence, we can assess the situation, analyze the surrounding factors, and make decisions more accurately. When you're not caught up in unnecessary debates or confrontations, you have the time to dig deeper into the core of the issue. Silence is a test of self-control and endurance. Sometimes, the only way to win is not to react. Action does not always require speaking up or making noise. Sometimes action is simply silence, patience, and focus. While others rush to argue and express their views, you can be the one who stays calm, works hard, and remains steadfast in your goals. Successful people are not drawn into unnecessary battles. They don't need to show off. They don't need to prove anything. They know that silence not only helps them stay composed, but also allows them to hear what others don't hear. Silence creates space to understand yourself and the world around you. Those who know how to stay silent are often more capable of working independently and making smart decisions, rather than being influenced by side talk or unnecessary advice. Silence is how you protect your mental space. A mind not distracted by external influences can see every issue clearly and find more effective solutions. Successful people often don't talk much about what they are doing. They stay silent and let the results speak for themselves. And their results are the strongest proof of their silence. A person doesn't need to demonstrate themselves with empty words. They just need to focus on their work, keep working hard, and let their results speak. That's how they prove their value, without having to explain or persuade others. The lesson from silence is a lesson in self-mastery. When you no longer need approval from others, when you don't need to prove yourself, you will unleash your full potential. Silence brings the hidden power you can use to focus on your bigger goals. Silence is not neglect, it's attention. It's a strategy to see through everything, to recognize opportunities in stillness, and patiently wait for the right moment to act. In a world so noisy and filled with distractions, having a quiet space where you are not affected by external factors is invaluable. The lesson from silence teaches us that not everything needs to be said. Sometimes silence holds the greatest power. Successful people know that sometimes silence is the only way to maintain control. Silence is an expression of confidence. You don't need to prove anything. You know that what you do will speak for itself. And that's the important lesson from silence. Silence is not a void, but a purposeful strategy. It is a powerful tool that can change the way we approach life, work, and success. In a world full of noise, silence is a precious moment for reflection, focus, and building. And that is the lesson we need to learn. The most successful people, those who change the world, are not the ones who are always talking, always showing their presence. They are the ones who know when to be silent, when to hold back, and when to act. These individuals are aware that silence is not impotence, but a means to observe, understand the situation better, and find opportunities that others miss. Silence creates space for thinking and innovation. While others are discussing problems, those who know silence can find solutions. Through silence, we can assess the situation, analyze the surrounding factors, and make decisions more accurately. When you're not caught up in unnecessary debates or confrontations, you have the time to dig deeper into the core of the issue. Silence is a test of self-control and endurance. Sometimes the only way to win is not to react. Action does not always require speaking up or making noise. Sometimes action is simply silence, patience, and focus. While others rush to argue and express their views, you can be the one who stays calm, works hard, and remains steadfast in your goals. Successful people are not drawn into unnecessary battles. They don't need to show off, they don't need to prove anything. They know that silence not only helps them stay composed, but also allows them to hear what others don't hear. Silence creates space to understand yourself and the world around you. Those who know how to stay silent are often more capable of working independently and making smart decisions, rather than being influenced by side talk or unnecessary advice. Silence is how you protect your mental space. A mind not distracted by external influences can see every issue clearly and find more effective solutions. Successful people often don't talk much about what they are doing. They stay silent and let the results speak for themselves, and their results are the strongest proof of their silence. A person doesn't need to demonstrate themselves with empty words. They just need to focus on their work, keep working hard, and let their results speak. That's how they prove their value without having to explain or persuade others. The lesson from silence is a lesson in self-mastery. When you no longer need approval from others, when you don't need to prove yourself, you will unleash your full potential. Silence brings the hidden power you can use to focus on your bigger goals. Silence is not neglect, it's attention. It's a strategy to see through everything, to recognize opportunities in stillness and patiently wait for the right moment to act. In a world so noisy and filled with distractions, having a quiet space where you are not affected by external factors is invaluable. The lesson from silence teaches us that not everything needs to be said. Sometimes silence holds the greatest power. Successful people know that sometimes silence is the only way to maintain control. Silence is an expression of confidence. You don't need to prove anything. You know that what you do will speak for itself. And that's the important lesson from silence. Explanation is not the key to success. Action is what creates real change. You can talk a lot, discuss every detail of your goals, but without action, all those words are just meaningless sounds. The truth is, many people waste too much time explaining, proving themselves, and justifying why they do what they do. But while they are explaining, others have already taken action and achieved results. Action doesn't require words, because the results will speak for themselves. In a world full of arguments, endless meetings, and the exhaustion of trying to convince others about your plan, action is the simplest and most powerful way to build trust. When you are truly working, when you focus on carrying out what you've decided, you don't need to explain anything. What you're doing will prove your value, your purpose, and your determination. Successful people don't waste time explaining every step they take. They simply do, and then the results speak for themselves. They don't wait for approval or agreement from anyone. They follow their path without explaining to others why they do so. What they do and how they do it will show them and others everything they need to understand. Action is the only way to turn theory into practice. You can have great ideas, you can build a perfect plan, but if you don't act, you're still just a person with potential. To achieve your goals, you have to step out of your comfort zone, face challenges, and take real steps. Action is the catalyst that makes things happen. If you don't act, all ideas and plans are just empty promises. People around you may listen to you, may admire what you share, but only action will show who you really are. If you want to build a business, change the world, or simply improve your life, you must take action. Your actions will create changes that words cannot. You can explain as many times as you want, but if you don't start working, you'll never see the results. Only when you act will you discover your true potential. Action is not always easy. Sometimes it requires you to face uncertainty, face failure, but it is in those moments when you keep acting that you truly affirm yourself. When you decide to act, you overcome fear and hesitation. You've done what many people only talk about. Successful people understand that they can't rely on theory, endless discussion. They have to take action. This is true not only in business, but in every area of life. Silence, perseverance, and action is what brings real change. Don't wait for approval from others, because while you're waiting, you're missing out on valuable opportunities. Don't try to convince others, because when you do, you reduce your own power. Instead of explaining why you do something, show the world the results of what you do. That's how you impress others. Every time you act, you send a clear message. I don't need approval. I don't need your understanding. I just need to act on what I believe in. Your actions will make others recognize you and what you're doing. They don't need to understand from the start, but they will see the results. And when they see the results, they'll ask themselves, why didn't I do that? Action is the way to confirm yourself. It's not about explaining or arguing, it's about proving through real results. You don't need to talk much about what you do, you just need to do and let the results speak for themselves. Successful people don't spend time explaining to those who don't understand. They don't try to change those who don't want to change. They know that their success will automatically persuade others. They don't just talk about goals, they live by their goals. This world isn't lacking in people with ideas, but it lacks those who act and execute those ideas. The difference between successful and unsuccessful people is action. Action makes the difference, and it will speak for itself. You can ignore all criticism, ignore all doubt, and just focus on action. Don't let words hold you back. Don't let waiting or worry stop you. Action is the only path to success. When you act, you don't need to explain. You just need to do, and success will come.